The provisional trade agreement between the EU and the UK has been in effect since January 2021, provisionally. In a new paper, the Federal Association of Drug Manufacturers, the BAH, points out gaps and makes recommendations. By the way, you should stay until the end if you don't want to miss anything interesting, and if you don't want to miss anything at all, just subscribe to my channel and click the little bell. Brexit has regulatory consequences for the pharmaceutical industry in particular. Therefore, there must be a mutual recognition agreement, an MRA, in the future. BAH General Manager Hubertus Kranz insists on this on the occasion of the publication of the new association brochure, which deals with this complex of topics. The BAH is primarily concerned with the areas of clinical testing, approval, drug production and testing, import and export, and pharmacovigilance. Further content is counterfeit, patent, trademark, and data protection, as well as regulations relating to medical devices. In the eyes of the BAH, there must soon be agreements on the mutual recognition of batch and import tests, official drug control laboratories, GMP inspections, and CE markings for medical products. The BAH is already recommending its members to prepare for a few scenarios. For example, if the UK no longer agrees that the holder of British approvals is based in the EU or the European Economic Area, the EEA. The association also advises companies to review their data processing agreements and data protection governance with the UK. The question is, how exactly does the UK transpose the EU General Data Protection Regulation into national law? The BAH warns that any transitional ridges are still in effect, but when they expire, Great Britain will create its own rules. As a reminder, the almost 1,500-page trade and cooperation agreement, which was agreed at the last minute, is only provisional at the moment, and the approval of the European Parliament is still pending, but that is expected no longer in April 2021. The BAH emphasizes again and again that although a hard Brexit was initially off the table, many areas in the pharmaceutical and medical device sector remain unregulated. With its paper, the association wants to draw attention to the consequences and, in the view of the regulatory loopholes, points out the importance of an MRA. In terms of pharmacovigilance, the BAH largely assumes that the previous EU regulations will continue to apply in the UK. The MHRA will initially adopt the decisions and recommendations of the EU committees for the relevant British approvals, or rather lean heavily on them, says the drug manufacturer's newspaper. Only in the reporting requirements will there be major changes, because the British now have third country status. In the future, authorization holders will also have to use Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency, that's MHRA portals, because submissions for British authorization will no longer be possible via the corresponding EU portals. The previous EU rules only continue to apply to Northern Ireland. Nevertheless, the BAH advises that if Northern Ireland is approved, the EMA website should be followed and the results of EU decisions implemented accordingly. Additional requirements and advice would then be posted on the MHRA website. While Great Britain has been separated from the European counterfeit protection system for pharmaceuticals since the beginning of the year, the system is still used in Northern Ireland. However, companies in the UK can voluntarily retain the protection against manipulation and the data matrix code. However, packages that are exported from the European Economic Area to Great Britain do not have to be decommissioned by the end of the year. The pharmaceutical newspaper had already reported on how the pharmacists handle these packs. In the field of medical devices, CE markings and certificates issued by EU-recognized notified bodies remain valid in Great Britain until June 30th in 2023. The EU, however, no longer recognizes the UK notified bodies, so nothing new can come from there. With a few exceptions, they are no longer allowed to issue CE certificates. And since January 1st, all medical devices launched in the UK must be registered with the MHRA. And something not Brexit related, but still not very funny, is the 33-year-old Sarah E. disappears in London. Suspected is that a police officer who is said to have been noticed earlier. Britain is now debating women's safety. Great Britain has been debating ever since 33-year-old Sarah E. disappeared on the way home in London. Thousands of women share their fears on social media when they are out alone in the evening. Sports reporter Rachel Brooks tweeted, "Every woman you know has taken a different path. Every woman you know has keys to self-defense in her hand. Every woman you know has done so before as if she was on the phone. Every woman you know turned the corner and ran off. Every woman you know was scared while walking down the street." Marketing expert Sarah E. set out on foot on March 3rd after meeting a friend in the evening in London Clapham. About 15 of the 50-minute walk to her house in Brixton, she called her boyfriend and arranged to meet him the following day. At 9:30 p.m., the security camera of a house recorded them, after which their track is lost. Her friend contacted the police on March 4th when Sarah E. failed to show up for the date. On March 9th, a man was arrested in Deal, Kent in England on suspicion of kidnapping. The 48-year-old was a Metropolitan Police officer who was not on duty at the time of his arrest. The following day, police found the remains of a human body in a wooded area near Ashford, also in Kent. The identification was completed on Friday afternoon. The body found is Sarah E. The policeman is now suspected of murder. A woman arrested for aiding and abetting, who is believed to be the suspect's wife, was released on bail. As has since been found out, it is not the first time that the police officer has been noticed. He is said to have exposed himself 3 days before Sarah E. disappeared in a fast food restaurant in South London. In the meantime, the Police Supervisory Authority has also intervened in the case. It is being investigated whether the London officials have correctly corresponded to a complaint against the suspect for causing public nuisance, the authorities said. The man had meanwhile been treated in a hospital because he sustained a head injury while in custody. Scotland Yard Chief Cressida Dick said the fact that the arrested was a colleague had shocked and angry the Metropolitan Police. It announced a comprehensive investigation by the competent authority, the Independent Office for Police Conduct. Meanwhile, the security debate continues. Thousands of women across the country are planning a vigil this Saturday. Almost every young woman in the UK claims to have been sexually harassed in public, according to the United Nations Organization for Gender Equality, that's UN Women UK. Labour MP Jess Phillips described violence against women as an epidemic, and more resources should be used to combat it. Indiscriminate attacks on the street are rare, Phillips said, but violence in itself is not a rare crime. Since Sarah disappeared last week, said the Labour Group spokeswoman for Women's Affairs in the House of Commons, 6 women and a little girl have been killed by a man. The British government has meanwhile announced a law to help curb violence against women and girls. And if you want to stay informed, even if it's not that pleasant, please subscribe to my channel. Auf Wiedersehen.